Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead, where today we're going to be talking about another food storage gem. This time it is buckwheat. And buckwheat is another one of those, some people call it a superfood. It is, people think it is a grain, but in reality it is the seed from a plant. And so it is not exactly a cereal, it is a pseudo-cereal, a false cereal, because it's different, it grows different from a whole different family than the grasses, which are related to the wheat and oats and rye and grains like that. So let's take a quick look to see why buckwheat is called by some people a superfood. So first of all, it is gluten-free. And so those with celiac disease can use this flour in whatever baking that they may have. And then it is a complete protein. It is one of the very few plants, along with amaranth and a couple of others, that have all of the amino acids that we need in our bodies for all the things that proteins do. And so it is a complete protein. And then here are just some of the health benefits, and there are many health benefits. And as always, the trusted sources that I go to for health benefits will never say it is a cure for this or is it a cure for that. It will say that there is evidence supporting the idea that this could help. And that's about as strong as you're going to get in very reputable scientific studies. And so some of them are that there are some suggested studies that show that it can help manage IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome. And then it can help support blood sugar levels. So this will help with diabetes. And then it may also reduce cholesterol and can help prevent diverticular disease, diverticulitis. And that is because it contains some of the fiber that is insoluble. Anything with insoluble fiber will go completely through our gut and clean it like a broom. And so that's why it helps prevent diverticulitis. And then if we look at just the nutrition, 1 cup is very low in calories. 1 cup of cooked is only 155 calories. And then it has 1 gram of fat. It is fairly high in protein for a grain or a pseudo cereal, which is 5.7 grams. 34 grams of carbs, here's the fiber at 4.5. It is very low sodium. So as you can see, it is a very wonderful addition to our food storage. It is really, truly a gem. But we have quite a bit of familiarity with buckwheat. We ran bees on our property for, I bet we lasted maybe, Jim? 8 years doing bees? Yeah. I had done bees for 30 years. And when we moved here, after an absence of doing bees while other things happened in our lives, I decided now that we have a little bit of property here, I wanted to do bees again. And so, of course, I don't think small, I think big. And we started with about 30 hives we had? Hives. Yeah. Bees became too much for us. Jim has had a shoulder replacement and I couldn't handle it. And so we gave the bees and we had lost several hives. The Africanized bees hit this area. And in any case, long story short, we decided our beekeeping days were over, and so we gave our bees to our children. Now, while we had them, we were really concerned about having the right kind of plants, honey plants, that they could use for pollination and also to get nectar. And so we had planted several years a whole field of buckwheat. That was before our water rates went sky high and we couldn't afford to do that anymore. And we had to even let our grass die. And we've been replacing the grass over these years with natural native plants, and it has worked out just fine for us. But those fields of buckwheat were so beautiful. Now, I have a couple of pictures from our beekeeping time, and I'm just going to show them, but they are very low resolution. The first one shows one of our fields of buckwheat, and it grows about 18 inches tall, and it has lovely little white flowers on the top. And the bees just loved it. And then, of course, we got buckwheat honey, which was a darker, stronger honey, but we were glad to get anything. And because it's very difficult to have forage for bees where we live, so we planted a lot of things, especially for our bees. And then the second clip shows a close-up of the blossom with a bee gathering nectar and also the pollen. And you can see the pollen packs on it. So we are very familiar with buckwheat and even grew buckwheat for a while. And we never harvested it for ourselves. We always just allowed the seed to fall because it would replant itself. And at that point in time, we really didn't understand how nutritious buckwheat was. We were just after the honey. But since that time, we have really become very well acquainted with the nutrient advantages of buckwheat. Now, buckwheat is kind of a triangular type seed. I'm going to pour some out in my hand so that you can see it. So it's about the size of BBs, and it's triangular in shape. And the seed that we planted was black. This is the very same stuff, but that black hull has been removed. And so this buckwheat that we have is called buckwheat groats, because it is without that black hull. Now, when you buy flour, buckwheat flour in the store, it had that black coating on it when they ground it into flour. So it is a darker flour. I have ground some of our groats into flour, and over here I have other things in here too, but this is the buckwheat groat flour. And so it is not so dark because it doesn't have, it does not include that black seed hull on it. So in a minute we're going to make some buckwheat pancakes. But we just bought buckwheat. It comes in these little packages inside, and these packages are 1 pound packages. It's about 2 cups of the buckwheat groats, and we've had this for a couple of years. Now, these food storage gems that we're talking about are the way that we view them. We're not involved in storing excessive amounts of these specialized grains, because that's why we call them gems. We think they're a wonderful addition to food storage, but we are not loading up on hundreds of pounds in our food storage. So we have, this is a 4 pound package because it contains 4 of these. We've had this for about 2 years. In terms of storing buckwheat, buckwheat is not a long-term storage grain because its fat content causes it to go rancid sooner. It'll last a couple of years, longer if you put it in the freezer. Some people say even 6 months is its lifespan. We have had this for 2 years, and we have kept these bags inside this box, and then the box inside a bin out in our food storage area in the lab where we keep our freeze dryer. And it has been just fine. Now, if you are concerned about that, you can empty the grains when you get them and get groats. I would advise you to get groats that has the black hull removed, unless you're planting it, and then you can get the seed buckwheat that has the seed cover still attached. You can pour it into quart bottles, 2-quart bottles, mason jars, and then vacuum seal. Or you could even poke holes. These little bags are pretty airtight, but you could poke some holes in these and just put the bag down inside a vacuum sealing bag and vacuum seal them, get rid of all of the oxygen if you wish. But this way of just doing it the way we have done it has worked just fine for us. Now, what can you use buckwheat for? Well, pretty much anything you want to, just like a regular cereal grain. It works fine for porridge in the morning. And yesterday I cooked some, and I have some clips to show you. I've done voiceovers on those so you can see what's going on. And if you've heard of kasha, that is one way to do it, a great recipe. It's a Middle Eastern type porridge cereal that you roast the groats first, and then you boil them. And so I roasted some, and we show this on that little clip that's coming up in just a minute. And then I went ahead and boiled it with a little bit of salt and store it. In fact, let me get it for you. So this is what it looks like when it is cooked. I've used some of this, but I just like to really keep cooked grains. I have in the refrigerator right now, I have rice, I have buckwheat, and I have amaranth. And they are cooked cereals ready to use in any way that we wish to in our meals. It makes a quick addition for soups and stews and even for salads. I would not use amaranth for salads. It's too fine, but this is perfect for salads. And I did bread, and I used, just like I did with the amaranth, about 3/4 of a cup of this in the bread, along with our 6-grain rolled cereal. And that bread turned out fantastic, and I have a clip of that too. So what we're going to do first is to go ahead and go into the clips that I did yesterday, showing the roasting, and roasting increases the flavor, it browns the groats, and it's very aromatic when you are doing it, and you do it in a high-sided pan, like I show in the video. And then I just dumped water right in that pan and boiled those, and that's what is now in this jar. And then I show how we added some of this cooked buckwheat to our bread mix, and then the results of that beautiful, beautiful loaf of bread. And of course, I had to use my new combi oven, but you don't have to have a combi oven to make a good loaf of buckwheat bread. And it was just 3/4 of a cup of the cooked cereal. The other thing that I could have done with a bread recipe is to split the flour and use part white flour and part buckwheat flour. Now we're going to do that exact thing using the buckwheat flour in making some pancakes in just a minute. But first, let's look at those clips, and then we will be right back. I have the buckwheat in a high-sided pan on medium heat, and I'm stirring it constantly while it roasts, and the aroma is phenomenal. Here I'm just going to add a little bit of salt and the water, and we'll boil it until it's done. And here it is with the water all absorbed. So it is ready to go into our bread or into the refrigerator. We're going to be using a recipe from our bread book on page 35, which is the oatmeal raisin bread. This time we're going to be doing it without the raisins as usual. So we'll be adding buckwheat to the dough. And here we are just about ready to add the cereal directly to the dough. And we have proofed it in the combi oven, and it's gorgeous. And after everything is done, the bread is ready to come out of the oven, and it is not only beautiful, but it is delicious as well. Okay, so let's make some pancakes. I have read a lot about buckwheat pancakes. I've heard a lot about buckwheat pancakes. I have never made them before. There's a lot of commentary online that not very many people like buckwheat pancakes. This recipe that I found, there were some rave reviews with it, that it was the best buckwheat pancakes anybody had ever eaten. But you know, all of that is relative. So we're going to try it. And so I just took some of those groats, and using my wheat grinder over here, I ground it into very fine flour. And to that flour, I added the remaining dry ingredients, which was sugar, baking powder, baking soda, salt. Here I have beaten an egg, and I have put in some of our freeze-dried buttermilk crystals. And now I am going to add the water that will rehydrate those into 1 1/4 cups of buttermilk. And I'm going to whip this together, help those buttermilk crystals dissolve. And so this is 1 1/4 cups buttermilk, 1 egg, and 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So there's our liquids. Now I should be adding liquid to flour, but I'm going to do it the other way because this bowl is bigger. I don't think it's going to make any difference at all. Now it says that the mixture is to be thick, but my buttermilk flakes, when they are reconstituted, they're not thick like regular buttermilk. This is thickening up as I whip it. So we're going to let this sit for about 5 minutes. That's what the recipe calls for. And we will be back when we're ready to cook these pancakes. It's thickened just a little bit as the flour has been absorbed. And I have a layer of butter on the grill. So we're going to try this. One of the things I find interesting is that there is no fat in this recipe. It calls for the grill to be buttered, but I'm not sure that takes the place of no fat in the batter. Well, that's pretty.
Nice.
Yeah, that was pretty. So that's how the backside looks. Okay, so we had 9 pancakes there, and I'm just going to take a bite of this one without anything on it because I want to get the full impact of what this is. I'm pretty hopeful about these, so let's see. My goodness. They are fantastic. I really like these. Ooh, they're just nutty and they just have such a great earthy taste. They don't need any fat. They're great. Oh, my bar is completely clean, by the way, like a plate. So that is great. So I'm just going to sort of put this one right here. And I will put the link to the recipe that I used below the description of the video so you can try it as well. And the reason that I think that this works and why some people don't like buckwheat pancakes is that most flour that you buy in the store has the black seed hull on it. So with these groats, with that hull gone, all you get is the good, excellent nutrition and the nutty taste of the buckwheat. And it is great, just like the bread tasted so good. So this is a wonderful gem for us to have in our food storage. And if you use buckwheat or experienced with it, please comment and help the rest of us understand some other ways that you might use buckwheat as one of our food storage gems. So we will be back with you very soon for many, many more videos to come.